Hey, welcome to the Spark of Madness. This is our second episode doing the entirely virtual, not live, but entirely virtual. I'm Matt. That's Ben.
That's me.
That's you.
Hey.
Aaron.
I don't think my screen's going to come up on the recording, but you can sort of see me. And you would think I'd make the joke about how I'm not wearing pants for this, but I normally don't anyway, so it's not really different for me.
Oh my.
Yeah, no, we don't ever show me from the waist down.
Target that explosion and fire.
Next week will be the shirtless episode.
I actually had to remember to wear a shirt.
So last week we were joined by Wesley and we did a kind of a flashback episode about the movie Hook. This week I was surprised because I was hoping to work in once a month an episode that was for a new movie that had just come out. But given all of the ones that have been canceled this year, it seemed highly unlikely. But then Disney Plus dropped Onward.
So it didn't make it to theaters?
No, it was supposed to be in theaters.
Like
it was in theaters for a minute.
Okay.
For a minute, yeah, but it was, I mean, it would still be in theaters relatively.
I see.
Yeah, they rushed it over to the streaming platform.
Makes sense. I mean, they have their own streaming platform.
Yeah.
I mean, who needs movie theaters anyway?
All you do is pay $15 and listen to people talk and be uncomfortable, and then
sit on questionable stains.
You have to go to the bathroom. Mm-hmm. You don't know. People can have AIDS.
Yeah, they're good. Your thoughts, Matt?
They're needles. It's true, but what if they drop their needles in the seat and you sit on their needles? It's like, hey, welcome to the world of HIV. That's a story, by the way.
Yep.
Yeah, that never happened.
No.
By the way, if you're ever going to shake Ben's hands, wear gloves.
All right, so today we're going to talk about. I realized we didn't do this last week for Hook, so this week I want to be sure to remember it. This is an entirely, especially because it's a new movie, spoiler-filled episode. But if you haven't seen the movie, how would you guys describe the plot of Onward?
Well, if I haven't seen the movie, I would totally describe it in a different way.
And hypothetically, would you have or would you have not seen the movie?
Hold on. Exactly.
Yeah. How would you describe the movie?
No, see, what had happened was.
Aaron, let's do this little practice. So if I haven't seen the movie, and how I would describe it, if we're doing things literally, is I think it's a movie about I don't know.
Well, that's really deep and insightful. If I hadn't seen it, I would say take every generic Disney plot and add magic and wizards to it.
But that's every generic Disney plot.
Quiet you. They quit doing that a while ago. Also, you need to take... Also, this is a little more in-depth, but you take the main character from Ratatouille, make his skin blue, give him long ears, and there you have it. And have him be voiced by whoever's really popular at the time.
That's exactly what it is. You're right. He looks like the main character of Ratatouille.
It was so distracting.
That's exactly what it is.
I was angry at the movie the whole time. This is what passes for character design?
They just took the old model and messed with it. That's exactly what it is. It's exactly the model.
Mario Party facelift, where they just stretch things out a little bit.
Yeah, like, oh, Mario 64. When you're moving Mario's nose.
You just
Matt,
give him the long ears.
Put a side-by-side comparison right now in post.
Oh, you're talking about for post. Okay,
we'll
first, just for this part.
You used to order me around on editing, and now you're ordering Matt. This is great. I mean,
I don't think your description. So if I were to predict, okay, it's a Pixar movie called Onward, I would have thought it was a road trip movie, which I guess it kind of is, like to a degree. But I agree with you. I did right after the movie, I did a letterbox thing, and I thought of it because there's a chimera in this movie. It felt like the movie was that. It was like this mashup of all these different things, but no individual one felt like unique really, or really distinct, or
I don't know if I would be that harsh.
So for me, it wasn't until the very, very end where it finally came together, the climax of the movie for me. But the rest of it, I felt like it was
pretty safe.
It was real. It was really riding on you liking the different magics, just demonstrations of magic. Just that was it. Like if you enjoy that, then I think you would like the movie. But
Pixar has the formula. No.
Mm-hmm. I think so. I agree. I feel like this movie was exactly that.
Yeah, and I think that the early movies had they were emotional and stuff, which is this one had some emotion in it that touched me a little bit, but they didn't seem like the same carbon copy.
Oh no, not at all. The original Toy Story movies, they don't every movie has formula. I mean that's how we do movies, but they felt much more freeform.
It was, and also they were more irreverent to each other and mean. You know what I mean? Like the original Toy Story, they were so much meaner to each other.
And that's how people really are to each other.
Well, it's
you
like
fat sack of crap.
It's like it's like having the Muppets.
Yeah.
The Muppets were kind of mean to each other. You know, they're very irreverent to each other, mean to each other, but they still love each other. But there's a sense of genuine, farce going on between each other.
Yeah, you need that.
And then now the Muppets are cute, you know what I mean? And they're topical, and they're not as mean. They're really kind of nice, and that's what Pixar movies have become now too.
It's a little too nice, yeah.
So the idea that Pixar's kind of has a formula, I guess, and none of the all the characters are kind of too nice, and I think that definitely came through with Onward, where the stakes didn't really feel high enough at any point. While I know they were in danger in certain moments, and it was more of like a race against the clock to try and
a race against the gelatinous cube. Yes.
Yeah, so that they can get their dad back for before before he disappears entirely. They don't have a chance to talk to him. But even then, I feel like, and we can talk about some of the good too. I think one of the biggest failings for me was the emotional weight of that moment of meeting their dad, or the importance or the loss that they felt. I actually had to scrub back through right before this to even remember if they even touched on that at the start of the movie. If it really not that it didn't matter, but I never got the feeling like that in solid setup for our two main characters, these brothers, that it almost seems silly to say of course the loss of their dad means something. You don't need to show that, but for the sake of a movie and storytelling, I didn't get that really.
I did, and I'm gonna ruin the whole movie right now, so spoilers. So what I liked about it after watching it, it's like reading a book. Oh, you get your Blizzard there. What I liked about it was, yes, the dad was very, very, very important, but they never showed him really, and the whole point was not to show him, not to have that payoff, where the payoff was his accepting his brother. And I think I kind of like that filmmaking ability, where yes, we know the dad is very, very important, but not. I think you're probably mad that they didn't show him as much, which I'm glad they didn't show him, because the memory it's more special of a memory. It's like showing the monster in a horror movie. It makes it more impactful for the young kid's point of view of how much it means to him.
Yeah, I mean,
our imagination.
I agree with you, Ben. I knew from the very moment that you only saw half the dad that they would never show him at all, because you can't at that point, because then it will never measure up. Mm-hmm. And it became not about what they lost, but what they didn't realize they already had.
The thing for me though is that it felt a little bit confusing that he. Like a lot of the heavy lifting to hear about the dad that you're not going to see, but to hear about him, is done by this random stranger who informs our character, who just turned 16, that like how cool his dad was, and he was bold, and he has this cool memory with him, and then that kind of influences him to want to, I don't know, be bolder himself. But I don't know, maybe I'm being too hard on it. I just felt like
so hard on it.
Yeah.
Given where the story ended up, I don't know. I felt like the start of the movie didn't do a lot of favors in my mind, and I think maybe part of it too was I wasn't a big fan of that they kind of set it up almost like this Office Space, like the world is turned to drudgery and the magic's gone. I don't know. I got really into that idea that they would tackle that, like magic is disappearing, and it's all like industrialized and all this stuff, and then it would come back. That narrative thread kind of got lost for me. Did it for
but on a quest, the easiest road is the least likely road. That would have been so easy. Like it's the first thing anybody thinks about, I would bet. Like I'm just glad that the movie didn't do everything that I thought it would do. Like I can't believe I might be the least harsh to this movie of all of us. I don't know.
No, I enjoyed it.
It might be a tie between you and me, but I cannot believe that I might have liked this more than Matt. That is so against our formula.
It is.
What? So what do you guys?
Because Matt's very formulaic.
Oh, nice.
What? So there was good stuff in it too. What did you guys think was like worked?
The strongest element of the movie is the big brother. Without him, the movie falls apart.
Yeah.
And in some critical mistake, they did not cast Jack Black for that role. It was tailor-made for him.
It was Chris Pratt.
Yeah, I don't know why they had to have Chris Pratt. Jack Black would have knocked that role out of the park.
Remember the Lego movie? He was pretty funny in the Lego movie.
Yeah, well, this ain't the Lego movie now, is it?
I thought Chris Pratt was okay. I thought the voice acting for those two was okay.
He works fine, but imagine Jack Black as the big brother. That it looks like him. It looks like it was ripped straight off of him.
Yeah, I can hear it.
You're right.
Maybe he's too old. Maybe too old.
No, he's never too old. He's perpetually 25 years old.
He's too old. Yes, too old to be.
Like it just felt like it would have been amazing for him.
I liked the old. I thought the older brother character was good. And obviously from a payoff at the end that he was kind of the dad Ian, the other kid, never had.
Yeah, if you didn't see that coming, then I don't know what to tell you.
Variety of ways. But I mean, just
I like how.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll go ahead. I like one thing I liked what they did with the dad is like they showed how much he loved him. Like the little things about touching his foot to them was precious. I thought it was really tender to he's touching his foot to touch them to know that they're there. There's some good devices of emoting when someone's not there.
Yeah, I'm surprised how well they were able to pull that off.
Yeah. And they didn't do it too gimmicky like Weekends at Bernie's.
I was afraid it was going to go in that direction when they put the top part on it.
Yeah. But it was good. I thought it was funny, like in the store, like the way he's like leaning like this at him and at the ferries.
Yeah.
And I did like the ferries that were biker gang.
We don't use that word the same way anymore, do we?
No.
Oh.
Like
I don't know. Maybe it was the visual jokes did not land as strongly for me, and I don't know what it was.
No, none of them were ha-ha funny.
They were just a little. It was like one notch too low for me to like pull it all together. Like even what? So for instance, and this isn't visual comedy. Which I don't want to take away from the legs ideas. There's enough goofy stuff with that, but like we were talking about the character design earlier. What did you guys think of the dragon at the end? Yay, positive or negative?
Neutral.
I thought it was funny that they used the face of the high school.
Yeah.
But speaking of character design itself, they're forgettable. All these characters are not well designed at all. They're not iconic. I don't remember them. Like look at like the old Disney movies, like Aladdin as a kid. You remember everything what they look like.
Expert character design.
Oh yeah, and even the world was kind of like blah.
Well, that's the problem with new Pixar or new animated movies in general is everything looks photoreal and then that's it. Like there's no stylization, there's nothing to set it apart from everything else aside from the characters. It's always been a weird juxtaposition to me to have these cartoony characters in a photoreal world. It just doesn't match for me.
Well, for some reason, but they do it well. In Toy Story, they do it well.
Well, Toy Story, you don't have... It's hard to explain. Like, the technology wasn't there yet, so it felt stylized.
You're right. You're exactly right. Monsters Incorporated felt the same way. Because Boston University was good, but it didn't have the same feel to it.
Yeah, they need to stylize more, make it stand out, because it's very forgettable when it looks real.
You're absolutely right. You know what it is? They didn't have the technology, and everything was simplified.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Even the backgrounds, everything was simplified. And I think when it's simplified like that, it just leaves a lasting, more iconic impression on you.
Yeah, it might not be as good technically, but it's easier to remember. It's more distinctive.
It's too much detail going on.
I mean, I could not tell you whether a new Pixar movie was a DreamWorks or a Pixar. They all look the same now.
Yeah. So like that little dinosaur movie, The Last Dinosaur, or whatever.
The Good Dinosaur.
It's called. The Good Dinosaur. Those character designs were better.
Yes, they were at least somewhat stylized.
But the world was, but
the world had some stylization too, as I recall.
That's what's ridiculous about this movie is that it kind of goes to what you're talking about with all these others. It feels even like Toy Story, which is kind of supposed to be photorealistic world. It has these moments where like everything fits and it in some cases is kind of style. Like I'm thinking about Coco. Coco, the one world is everything is very stylized around this similar aesthetic that is, this Mexican heritage stuff, or Day of the Dead. With this movie, it feels like it's kind of like the Pixar style for these types of characters. And I know they had little moments where like, oh, the house kind of looks like a mushroom or whatever. But they set up that there are all these different creatures and there's the Cyclops and there's this other thing. But it felt so minimally used just because we were like, we meet one of each thing for just a brief second and then they're gone. And I don't know. It just felt very.
And that was kind of like here's the Good Dinosaur too, because we didn't see a lot of dinosaurs in it. I wanted to see more dinosaurs in it.
Perhaps, yeah.
Yeah,
so it's the same thing.
It was very restrained, and in this case, I guess it makes sense if it's like this little quest and they're going on they're Indiana Jonesing all around the various challenges or whatever and obstacles, but given the setup, which is where I keep going back to, and how it then comes full circle at the end, it seemed like they wanted to put forth this world that then they just kind of neglected for a while and then tried to like, hey, see, we came back to it. And I just didn't think they could have done without it and done more with the family dynamic stuff that they, tried to more strongly focus on in the middle.
I mean, maybe it's cynical of me to say, but there's so many of these family movies that deal with family dynamics. It's been done so much that at this point you may as well just assume it. Like, don't waste any time. It's like showing Batman's parents dying in every Batman movie. We don't need that.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. And that's why I would have. Batman's the best because it just hops as Batman right away.
Yes.
He's already Batman.
You talking about Batman Forever? Is that what I heard?
I said Tim Burton's Batman's the best. He's already Batman.
Oh yeah, well, Batman Forever is great too because it starts with a bang.
Oh.
But the tour moves on.
So the and maybe part of my issue. What did you guys think of the kind of B story that was the mom and the manticore or whatever that?
Yeah, I finally get to know how to pronounce that word. I was always like, is it manticore or is it manticore? I've never known, but now I know.
I thought that was fun. I like the Manticore character. I actually think the funniest scene in the whole thing was when they went to the pawn shop. I really thought that was, like the way the stupid character laughed.
That'll be
I actually rewound
that'll be $10.
It laughed like that. I go, that was so funny. I was like, because you know why? Because that was a voice actor or someone who worked there. You mean at Pixar?
Yeah.
And it wasn't a celebrity. That's why it was so funny.
That is my main issue with all Pixar movies, all animated movies in general. Stop hiring so many celebrities. Sometimes a celebrity voice matches. Sometimes you need a voice actor.
So someone did a really good video. I forget who it was. I forget. I'll send it to you guys. But it talked about when and how this happened. It happened with Aladdin.
Yeah, probably.
Because Robin Williams he was a celebrity, but he's in that fringe of that voice actor thing.
Yeah, he could be a voice actor if he wanted to be.
Yeah, and he didn't want them to advertise. He had a whole big pitfall with Disney, but he didn't want them to advertise him as a villain. He wanted the movie to stand by itself, but John
They did it anyway.
Who runs DreamWorks did it anyways, and they had a fallout. But so a lot of it is not because it's good voice acting; it's just to sell the movie.
Yeah, I mean, like the police officer cult. That's easily a role that could have been given to like a Frank Welker or something, and they would have knocked it out of the park. You know?
Who was it? I don't know who it was.
I don't either because it's so forgettable.
Generic. Even like
watch it be
Spider-Man.
Frank Welker, and then I'm like, oh great. No, but Tom Holland, why? He's forgettable as Spider-Man. He's forgettable as an elf.
I mean,
are you okay?
To me, it's a.
Did I say something wrong?
I'm having trouble countering the Spider-Man thing.
I mean, he's not a bad Spider-Man. He's just not amazing. And
really
Spider-Man should be amazing.
I like him as Spider-Man. I do agree that this is maybe I'll put up the Tobey Maguire dancing.
Yeah, put it up.
Hey! You take Spider-Man 3 out. Tobey Maguire's not that bad.
Spider-Man 3 is a misunderstood masterpiece. Okay.
There was still a lot more charm to it.
Yeah, it had undeniable charm. Yeah. But that's enough of Spider-Man. Let's talk more about voice actors.
Yeah.
Well,
so
he's generic and boring.
Yeah.
Well, and I thought so. Julia Louis-Dreyfus was the mom. I thought she did not a great job. I thought Octavia Spencer was.
Wait, that was Julia Louis-Dreyfus?
I think so.
Seinfeld?
Right?
Yeah, from Seinfeld.
Yeah.
I remember reading the cast.
She's in another Pixar movie.
Yeah, wasn't she Princess Ada?
In Bug's Life.
Yeah. She did a much better job in that movie.
She's in Onward. Yeah.
And I tell you what, Dave Foley is one of the best. They need to bring Dave Foley back. He's a good voice actor. He's not a celebrity. He's a comedian.
You know, while we're on this subject, I had a thought while the main characters. His name's Ian, right? Sorry, I watched the movie 2 hours ago, and it's already not. It's already leaving me.
This morning. Yeah.
So when he's listening to the tape of his dad's voice, the way his dad's voice went for the first few seconds, I was like, this had been a role for Phil Hartman.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm your father. You might remember me from such things as your conception.
He's like, now listen, son. He's like, when I was a child, I talked as a child and I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I took that child and brought him out back and had him shot.
If you can keep like closer to your like screen, that's when your voice is at best. That's beautiful.
When I was a child, I thought...
that was your best levels yet. So, what are you gonna do?
You damn dirty ape.
I think you're mixing up Charlton Heston and Phil Hartman.
There's a lot
you blew it up.
But like Phil Hartman's Charlton Heston's the best. Remember Troy McClure in Planet of the Apes the musical?
I forgot all about that. I'm sorry.
It's like Sayers, Dr. Sayers. And then at the end, from chimpanzee to chimpanzee, yes, you finally made a monkey out of me.
All you out there who like our show, like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell so you can always get notifications. And this show was brought to you in part by Tubi. Right, Tubi?
Yes, Tubi.
Oh my god!
To be or not to be.
This podcast is unofficially sponsored by Tubi. Oh man! All right, let's get Onward. Is there any last thoughts before we rate the movie?
You know what? I did not dislike this movie at all. I thought it was cute and sweet, and there was enough to keep me from turning it off before it was over. And that's a lot to say for me because I stopped watching Pixar movies a long time ago. Like this is the first one I've seen since the Good Dinosaur. And
Good Dinosaur.
Yeah. And before that, the last one I saw was Ratatouille.
Yeah, I haven't seen The Last Incredibles or.
Me neither.
What else came out? I don't even know. I've kind of like
Toy Story 4.
Yep,
Toy Story 4.
Yeah,
Incredibles.
Was Coco one of them?
Yeah, Coco was probably the year before that.
Coco was good. Coco was more in depth.
It was more chocolatey.
It is, but it's not chocolatey. It's not as sugary until you add milk to it.
I see. It doesn't activate until then. Most scientific. No,
milk.
for as generic as most of the movie was, I enjoyed it mostly because of the Big Brother, and he saved the whole thing for me, despite his not being Jack Black.
Well, and I think
I agree.
He was the character with the most personality, or any personality.
He was the only one with real writing.
Absolutely, you could distinctively know,
you get a sense for who he is, what he does, and why he does it. Everybody else just kind of follows what do you think they're gonna do? Probably this.
And I think the dad, who didn't have a voice, had more personality.
Yeah, he had some good personality. He had some good dance moves.
Mm-hmm. I like how they made the shape of him like a dad body.
Yeah.
It was so good. That was a good character design.
Yeah, it was a little half done, but don't
just
laugh
like
at that.
This movie.
Don't laugh at that.
Do you think they skimmed out the top?
Matt, can you put in some applause there? I don't have my keyboard on me. I guess it's time to rate the movie then?
Let's rate the movie. I know we just kind of talked about it. Why don't I go first?
Okay, we'll see how far up or downhill we're going.
I was really close between a 4 and a 5, and I went with a 4.
I knew it.
It's just low for this. So I gave Incredibles 2 also a 4. I would say Onward is better than that.
Wow.
But I think a lot of the beats are there. I think this is one of those movies where
but who likes beats?
No one. That's who. No, this is one of. Go ahead.
The slogan should be, "You can't beat them. You can't beat them. Join them." Beats.
Also, I think there's a Michael Jackson joke in there somewhere.
We'll get there eventually.
Too soon.
Just the last. Just the very last thing I'd say is I do think there's a lot of fun stuff in where it's best is when it embraces the Dungeons and Dragons quest stuff where it does the little adventures and puzzles and they got to figure it out. I think that's where it does the best, and then the payoff at the end between the brothers that he lets his brother kind of have this experience with the dad and doesn't seize it for himself, and it kind of switches. I think that was very, very well done. It felt like a lot of the other stuff. Yeah,
very good story choice, and that's why I liked, because it was sacrifice. That's the hero's journey.
Yes.
Well,
where
and
he went on this adventure and he sacrificed it for the greater.
Well, we talked about when you have this tag along mentor or person propelling you the whole time, that was set up to be the Barley brother character, that then it's almost like they switched at the last second to allow Barley to almost be the hero the whole time, which was kind of an interesting way to go about it.
Certainly unexpected.
But I just feel like it kind of was a little too many world building components, and none of them were as interesting as I hoped they would be, to make it worth seeing. I feel like if I just told you, oh yeah, it's kind of a fun movie that has some magic in it. I ultimately landed on a 4 because I don't think anybody has to see it. It's not, there's like 15 other Pixar movies I would put ahead of it. So, not that is always the standard, but anyway, I gave it a 4.
Ben, would you like to go, or should it be me?
I go.
All right. I am going to give this movie a 5.
Wow.
I have every criticism that Matt does, except I feel them just a little less strongly. I think there's enough there for everyone to see this movie and not hate it. I think it's like straight down the middle. It's just fine. And for how mediocre it is, if there's one thing I have to give Pixar, they do mediocre better than anyone else.
Yeah.
That's true.
Pixar's
Not a lot of misses. Not a lot of misses.
No, very few.
So Pixar's garbage. So say this. So let's just say this. It's not garbage. This
It's
is a
garbage
very
for them.
Pixar movie, and we love that Claus movie, but that Claus movie has nothing to this, which is unfortunate because I want to see more 2D animation.
What?
Look, the Claus movie was not as good as this.
You thought Claus was worse than this?
And the only reason I thought it was worse was because I actually got emotional parts with this. And I think that's where the Claus movie suffers, is that they don't understand the story and emotion quite right. Yeah.
Plus, they didn't put Norm in a big role, so.
Oh yeah, and let him loose.
Critical misstep.
Or let him loose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's just let Norm Macdonald be Norm Macdonald.
Yeah, they let Norm play those Pegasus in this one. He really got to show off his chops.
Grr, I'm a Pegasus. I'm gonna fly at you now.
If you discount the visuals of Claus, then yes, this is a better movie. The visuals is what I like about Claus. Anyway.
You know, speaking of visuals, I was imagining to myself what this movie would be, Onward, if it wasn't a generic Pixar look. I would love to have seen this movie in the hand-drawn 2D kind of rotoscopy style of Heavy Metal. Have you ever seen that movie?
Yes.
It would have worked with that. That would have been great.
See, that's kind of what I was hoping for too. I don't know. It felt like it almost forced itself to bring in the more of the conventional real world, like fast food restaurant and street lights and all this stuff, just because
roving gangs of biker fairies.
It's less like if they had gone full fantasy world imagination and didn't modernize it at all, I probably would have liked it better.
Yeah, but then it doesn't have a point to make.
Or gone ultra stylized.
Yeah. Well.
Well, maybe
what was your rating?
Maybe they could have incorporated more like that. That butting up against, kind of like India. So India is basically butted up in the jungle. You mean so animals in India are practically fighting each other.
Mm-hmm.
They would have butted up the magic and old world more. I mean, they did a little bit of the old magic, trying to exist in the real world more, even though it's not as prominent. But there's still sects out there, different sects out there. It would have probably been better. So they have like the old guard. There's areas where it's so much more urban.
I see what you mean.
And that might have made it a little better. And I agree with you. When I realized when they went off road and then they're still on the interstate, it was like
it was awfully easy to get back on concrete.
Yeah, and there's cops coming back at you. It's like they should have been more isolated.
Yeah.
I think that's when it was good. When it started to be more isolated, and when they're going to the magical stuff, and maybe they encounter more creatures and quests that were more fable instead of modern, that were still in the old world. That would have been better, man.
Yeah, you're right. They're like, hey, we're on the path of peril. Hey, you got 50 cents for toll for?
Yeah.
Yeah. You could have had so much character. Yeah, that'd been brilliant. You could have so much character where like they're still trying to do their jobs as these. They're still civilized, but they're not civilized. Kind of like dinosaurs. Remember the dinosaur Dimension show?
Yeah.
They still eat animals. They still eat mammals. In the refrigerator. And they have to talk to them.
That show was so almost great.
Yeah, so other creatures could eat other creatures. It'd be kind of a funny idea.
Yeah, and they gave, I don't know. I don't want to get away from it. Ben, what was your rating for the movie?
Yeah, I think I missed that in the crossfire.
I'm gonna give it a 6.
Okay.
Because I think because Pixar's good at tugging at my heartstrings for certain things. I got a little teary-eyed at some things and a little emotional. And of course, I was waking up and it was 6 a.m. But I didn't want to go to work. Maybe that was
you showed up to you show up to your first meeting in the morning just
with like a portable DVD player.
Yeah. So I give it a 6 because I enjoyed it. But it was still generic. I probably wouldn't watch it again.
Another rare time where I don't give the lowest rating.
Wow. So the 2 questions I had, is this movie in the top third, middle third, lower third of Pixar movies? I would say lower third.
Middle third.
What do you guys think?
Lower third. Yeah.
Okay. And given we've only done one other movie that came out this year, is Sonic better than this or not?
I think this is a better movie than Sonic.
Yeah, Sonic sounds good.
Sonic was more fun for me, but I realize it's not a great movie.
I wouldn't want to watch it again.
Well, I would say the same of this movie. I would never need to see either again.
But if you give me a choice, I'd rather watch this movie.
Yeah, I think so too.
Gun to my head. Onward.
Give me the Ratatouille guy with long ears, please.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. In fact, could you just put in Ratatouille?
Dragon.
All right. So 4, 5, 6. Mostly aligned, I guess.
Mostly.
I don't know. We don't have a set movie we're doing next week.
We're doing Clue. Remember?
Oh, we are. We're doing Clue.
Let's do Clue.
I guess we are now.
It's such a fun movie. You're gonna love. Have you seen it?
I have.
Yeah.
I watched this. I actually watched it recently this holiday weekend.
Oh, then you're all up to speed.
I mean, like Christmas.
Oh, well, watch it again.
Okay.
I will, but
I find it to be a very rewatchable movie.
I've watched a handful of, I watched Murder on the Orient Express recently, and then Knives Out came out last year. So these murder mystery movies, maybe we can talk about those.
Yeah, well, this one's going to blow them out of the water.
All right, so if we do Clue, I want to do another movie the week after, and they're very similar movies. And I haven't seen it for years, but it has Peter Falk in it.
I like him.
You know what I'm talking about? It's a murder mystery, and it has not Lionel. It has a Truman Capote in it too.
Oh, yes, it's a very special movie.
So it's a similar thing. A group of strangers come into this thing, and it's a similar movie. I got to figure out what it's called, but I can't. Let me look it up. Why we do this? Matt,
yeah, sure.
Vamp.
So Matt, you've never seen this Clue movie?
I have seen it.
Oh, you have seen it. Okay, then.
Yes, it's called Murder by Death, Ben. Right?
Murder by Death. Yes, Murder by Death.
Wow.
Yes. Yes.
Matt, Vamp.
How did you get to the movie? I don't know. Drive by car.
Yeah. Murder by Death. Yes. It has Peter Sellers in it too. I forgot.
Walked by feet.
So this movie's called Murder by Death, which we'll do after Clue.
How did he die? I don't know. Knife by chest.
James Coco, Peter Falk, Alec Guinness is in it.
Breathing is oxygen by lungs.
Podcasting is Google Hangouts by internet.
Yes.
Peter Sellers is in it, and James.
You could talk me into us doing a broader murder mystery podcast next week, but we'll figure it out. At the very least, we're going to talk about Clue.
Yeah,
and then we'll talk about.
Everybody got that?
I've got it.
All right. So long.
All right.
Bye.